Welcome everybody to Rosemary Dream, for those of you who haven't made it here before. Tonight we're going to be talking a little bit about how your parents shape your love life. So quite an interesting topic, and something I'm sure everybody has a little bit of history with their family, and a little bit of something that maybe is lurking there underneath that you feel like could be resolved. And so it's quite a common thing for most people. So today we're just going to be understanding how that affects us in nowadays life and in your behavior today. This is a workshop that I actually do in Heart Attack, which is our 1 month long, fully immersive empowerment program, where we really dive deep into the things that are holding us back in life and holding us back from creating the life that we'd love to live and be the person who we want to be. So without further ado, we're just going to go a little bit into the science and the science behind the belief and identity of people. And so what we want to look at here is just how we arrive at that place where our family have affected us in some way, usually in a negative way, which we'll be looking at today. So we first know that everybody needs love. This is something that's a fact of life, that all humans need to give and receive love. So it's not only important for us to get love from our parents, but also to be able to give it in some form or way. So sometimes in our relationships, it's a little bit one-sided, where somebody always cares for the other, always supports the other, and that's also not necessarily a positive relationship. So it's important that we're able to give back as well as receive. Some of you may have heard of the 5 love languages. So it's a really interesting theory that states that there are 5 love languages in which you can give and receive love. We all have a priority, a rank, and so it's important to know what yours is and to understand how you like to give love and how you like to receive. Often in relationships, there'll be a bit of a disconnect between how we like to receive it and then what's given to us. So maybe in this instance, our father never loved us. He never showed us love and never cared for us. And all we wanted was words of affirmation. So all we wanted to hear was, I love you. All we wanted to hear is, you're doing great, I'm really proud of you. And all we got were acts of service. He was always out working, always out getting money, always putting food on the table, provided a roof over our heads. And so maybe sometimes that we didn't see this love because we were looking for touch, we were looking for words of affirmation, and what we got was something else. And so it's really important to understand that and understand the ways in which you can give and receive. It's not just telling somebody I love you. It can be done in many other ways. So maybe just take a moment now to think about the ways in which you like to give and receive love. Gifts and touch are quite common ones. They're the easier ones sometimes. And sometimes it's quality time and acts of service that are a little bit harder. But these can be very, very different. It could be a hug, it could be a massage, it could be I love you, it could be you're doing great, it could be positive feedback. Quality time is anything from just sitting on the sofa together to taking a holiday. Acts of service could be when you're a child, maybe your parents drove you around and took you to football or took you to your friends' houses, anything like that. So the next what we have is the truth. So these are our early love experiences. These are these earlier love experiences are often our family, often the people who raised us. And so it's important to look here to understand, okay, what do we know about love? What do we experience in life that tells us about what love is? There's something that's really, really important to understand, really important to know, and is that there's only good intentions. So everybody in the world, despite feeling like this person's a little bit evil, or he's bad, or she's like a bit of a bitch, absolutely there's times when that happens, and there's times when we can't see the good in what's been going on. But the good intention is either you're looking after yourself, you're trying to protect yourself in some way, and that may be fear-based, or you're trying to do good in the world and it comes from a loving place or protecting others. So this is love. We know that everybody needs it. We've got the truth, which is the facts. These are the things that happen. These are our early love relationships. These are the objective things that happen in life. Nothing interpreted. This here, perception, is how we interpret the truth. So that's what we make of the facts, what's going on, and that creates our story or our truth. And it's really important to understand that and distinguish that your truth from the absolute truth, because sometimes we get them confused. For example, we might say, my father was never there for me, or he never loved me. And what actually we really mean is that he wasn't present as much as we'd like in life, because he was working. And so that's a form of love, an act of service. And so actually the truth is that he loved you very much, so much so that he sacrificed his time with you so that you could have a better education, or you could eat, or you could sleep well. So what do we know about truth, or perception, sorry? It's just how you see things. So this is really important to understand that it's, again, it might be misinterpreted, some of the facts, and it might be different from how they see it as well. So understanding that your view is only one is really, really important in this, and it's also a decision we make. So it's a decision. So understand, okay, like at what point, maybe it's subconsciously, did I make a decision? You can ask yourself, is there someone who thinks differently about this thing? So then we understand what's society, what's cultural, and we can understand, is it something that I just view as, and I can change that, or is it something that's an actual fact? And with awareness, with actually seeing this and being mindful of that, then we're able to change it and make that decision and change the way we feel and the way we act. So then we have our truth, which is all about how we understand the world. What we do as humans is really look for coherence. We really look to understand what's going on. And so this is why we tell us this story. And even though this story may be detrimental to us, it could be that our parents never loved us, which may not have been the actual truth. And we hold on to this story, and we cling on to this identity, this idea of what happened, just so we have coherence, just so we know, we understand what's going on, and that gives us a sense of control. And that's what we really crave in life. And so it's really important to understand that, which is why we keep telling ourselves the same things, repeating the same stories, and creating this identity that isn't necessarily favoring us. And this can detrimentally lead to assumptions and expectations. So in that, you might then assume that you can never receive love from somebody else. You might assume or expect that love is only for romantic movies or other people. And so in this, it's really important to say, okay, like, is this what I'm telling myself? Is this the truth? Is this the reality of the situation? And if not, then look to change it. And so all of this ends up here at behavior. So some behaviors and some early love experiences will shape your behavior in a positive way, so they'll work for you, and others will work against you. And so it's really, really important, again, to understand what is working for you. Keep that, leave that there, that's absolutely fine, and then change those things that are working against you and that aren't favoring you in life. And so, as you can see, just a basic diagram here, bit of the science, bit of the theory around it. Everybody needs love. Then there's the facts that early love experiences. Everyone experiences love. We perceive those facts to create a story about how we receive love, how we got love, what happened there. This is generally the family, but it can also be early love relationships, first loves. And this creates an identity and beliefs, which creates our behavior and how we act in life, and whether we act in line with our values or in line with our goals or not. So we're just going to now take a moment to think about what your story is. When you hear the word family, when you came to this talk, did you feel positive? Did you feel, okay, yeah, family, great, like this is a great thing. I'm really happy about this. I'm really happy with the way my mum and dad taught me about love? Or was there a little bit of frustration, a little bit of resentment, a little bit of anger, sadness? What was there? What showed up for you? If there's anything negative there, there's something to be resolved, and it's important that you look at that and say, okay, like I can do something about this. And so just think about now, what's your story? We're going to have a little look at someone else's story. This is from a documentary called Humans. Some of you may have seen it, but it's just a very, very inspiring story about someone's early love experiences, someone's understanding of love, and how with awareness and how with love that can be changed to create a more positive story and thus live a more positive life.
I remember my stepfather, would beat me, and he would beat me with extension cords and hangers and, pieces of wood and all kinds of stuff. And, after every beating, he would tell me, it hurt me more than it hurt you. And, You know, I only did it because I love you. Which kind of, you know, it communicated the wrong message to me about what love was. So for many years, you know, I thought that love was supposed to hurt. And I hurt everyone that I love. And I measured love by how much pain someone would take from me. And it wasn't until I came to prison in an environment that is devoid of love that I began to have some sort of understanding about what it actually was and was not. And I met someone, and she gave me my first real insight into what love was, because she saw past my conditions and the fact that I was in prison with a life sentence for murder, and not only for murder, but for doing the worst kind of murder that a man can do, murdering a woman and a child. And it was Agnes, the mother and grandmother of Patricia and Chris, the woman and child that I murdered, who gave me my best lesson about love, because by all rights, she should hate me. But she didn't. And over the course of time, and through the journey that we took, that's been pretty amazing. She gave me love, and she taught me what it was.
Cool. So hopefully that gives you like a nice example of how love is portrayed in so many ways, and we learn so much about it, and we learn so much about it from our early love experiences. And yet, with awareness and with love from ourselves and others, we can learn to change that and learn to change our lives and actually become productive. So just going back on that, even murderers need to give and receive love, but all people need to give and receive love. So that's apparent there. He was beaten severely as a child, that's the fact, that's the truth. And then the perception was that love was supposed to hurt. Then the truth for him is that love is how much pain someone can take from you. And that leads you to behaviors that aren't in line with who you want to be, aren't in line with your goals or your values. But when he was shown that love is unconditional, and that's what real love is, then the story changed to love. Love can be unconditional, and love can be without ties and without pain. And then he can live in peace and make contribution, and in sharing his vulnerability there, we can learn from him. So just an amazing example of how we can change our lives and how we can change our, how we live just through changing our awareness of love. So again, just understand that your story again, understand what's yours and what isn't, what are you telling yourself, what's detrimental, and what's positive. What we can do is, in the workshop that we do a little exercise, which is a perspective taking exercise. So if you think about now your love life and what shaped your love life, and maybe some of the early experiences that you have, that you're still holding on to, again, bring up that, and then you can think about what's your story. What's your inner child, that hurting child, saying to you right now? What's is the child like wanting love? Is it not seeing love? Are you crying out for attention, or are you receiving it in a fearful way? Are they trying to control you and trying to protect you? And understand what then is going on. What's the situation there? What's their story? Again, understanding Agnes and understanding that she saw past the early love experiences that he had to then show unconditional love. And it's so important to understand and empathize with the other person and understand that they too have their love experiences and they too have fears and they too want to give and receive love. And then at the end of it, you can take what's called the God perspective, or that mature or higher self perspective, where you can see these two people desperately trying to give and receive love in some way, desperately trying to do something with good intention, desperately trying to make something happen, whether it's out of fear or out of love, protecting themselves or protecting you, and that you can forgive them both and understand, okay, this is just the situation, this is exactly what's happening, and this is not the story that I need to tell myself. Once we do that, then we can write a letter, and this really puts it down, manifests it physically, and really understand, okay, this is the story, this is what's going on. There's quite a lot there. If you want to go through it, then we can do a workshop later in the week. Or you can take a photo now, and if you want, then you can do it in your own time. But really, this is the process that we take people through, and it really does change how you understand your early love experiences, how you understand your interpretation of love and what your story is, and then be able to change that to make a more positive story and understand what the truth of the situation is, and really try and heal those relationships so that your behavior then can be more positive in life. The last thing you need to do is take action and actually send it to that person. It's so important that we do this, so that we reach out and tell the other person how we're feeling and what we want from them and how we want the relationship to be better. So this, if you can, please do it, and please make the effort. I'm sure there's a lot of things left unsaid with your parents or with your loved ones, and it's so important that we actually try and do something about it and actually take action to change our lives. That's why we're in Rosemary, that's what we do, that's what we live for, is really taking responsibility for everything. As we know, responsibility equals empowerment. So what we know about love is that everybody needs it, everybody wants it, everybody wants to give and receive in many different ways. And we also know that there's some things that happen in life. They have the facts. Then we also have our story, our perception. We can change our perception to change our story to create more positive behaviors in our life and more positive identity. And it's going to really help us out. Thank you for your patience.